Alright, so, I have not uploaded a real video, in a while. And one thing I've also realized is that I have conveniently forgot about the Voyage of Despair and Blood of the Dead map reviews. Should have done them like months ago, but yeah, I still have to do them. I've even done the Dead of the Night map review, but I still haven't done these two. So yeah, today we're going to be doing the Blood of the Dead map review, the remake of Mob of the Dead. And I hope you enjoy. Leave a like and subscribe as usual so I can do more of this stuff and make more money, because yeah, money is cool. Yeah, let's just get into this. As the first thing that we talk about for every single map in these reviews so far, it's the intro cutscene. And the intro cutscene, I just gotta say, is absolutely incredible. Probably one of the best intro cutscenes we've ever seen in Call of Duty history. Really, it's just amazing. The fact that it connects the transit crew, the fact that we get to see both of the Richtophens, the fact that we're kind of unsure of why he leaves originally, but he kind of gives us clues to figure out what happens at the end of the intro cutscene. That's all amazing. It creates suspense. It's pretty much exactly what you want in a cutscene. No filler, unlike Dead of the Night. It's just straight to the point. Every single scene matters, and that is just the aspects and keys that make a good intro cutscene. What can I say? I mean, you guys have seen it before. It's obviously amazing. Let's move on to some more controversial stuff. I skipped over a little bit of gameplay just so you guys could listen to the background song that's in the background. It's the Where Are We Going? Blood of the Dead mix, and that's where I want to talk about the audio. This song is obviously incredible. I mean, it's arguably just as good, if not better, than Where Are We Going?, the original Mob of the Dead soundtrack, which was already one of my favorites in Zombies history, so you can imagine how highly I would praise this one. And just the soundtrack in general, throughout the entire map, when you go to different areas of the map, when the round changes, the soundtrack in this map is one of the best we've seen ever in a Zombies map. The soundtrack is absolutely insane. Like, you guys just gotta hear it for yourself. You've played the map before, you know this, what songs play. It's just absolutely incredible and creates a really amazing vibe. And I love how the vibe is just not exactly the same as Mob of the Dead. It's not like a suspenseful one where you're like escaping a prison, but it's just super eerie and creepy, but it's got those same Mob of the Dead elements that I think they absolutely nailed. Trek always does absolutely amazing on their soundtracks, and they do not disappoint. This is one of the most masterpiece maps of all time when it comes to soundtrack, that's for sure. And definitely the best for Black Ops 4.
Fire burns, soul returns, ashes cleanse the ordinary.
Now, let's talk about the atmosphere. So, Blood of the Dead immediately distinguishes itself from its predecessor, Mob of the Dead, by making you start in a completely different area. In terms of atmosphere, this has great effect because it makes the people forget what they know, which is obviously you know where I got that from. But it's honestly, they did that for a specific reason, because they wanted to get rid of players feeling that this was going to be like Mob of the Dead. This is more of the feeling that you're just trapped by an everlasting tormentor, which is in this case the Warden, and driving our premise characters to the brink of insanity, to the point where they, completely lose their shit. They don't know what to do. They keep trying to kill themselves. It almost seems as though they're like giving up, and they finally are able to figure out like what to do, and that plan is executed, which really makes the character, well, when I mean characters, I mean the players feel for the characters, and that contributes greatly to the atmosphere when you know exactly what your point of purpose is for being there in the first place. Blood of the Dead does a really great job. In terms of the atmosphere itself, other than the feelings that you sort of get, the aesthetics itself, I'd say, are about just as good as Mob of the Dead. Not any better, not any worse. You could say that's a disappointment for a remake, but considering how good Mob of the Dead is in terms of aesthetics, I wouldn't put too much flack on Blood of the Dead. I think it does an overall good job, even though a lot of people were disappointed that this map didn't really carry over the feeling that you were escaping from a prison as much as Mob of the Dead did. I think it's personally fine, and I think it works really well, because with the Mob of the Dead, they really focused on the characters trying to escape and constantly fail. But of course, the premise characters are smarter than them. They know what they're doing. They know that they're just trapped forever. And it creates the sort of a very interesting feeling you get when you're actually playing this map, which makes it be able to distinguish itself, but makes it have about the same amount of value as Mob of the Dead did in terms of its atmosphere, which I think they did a really good job on. They kind of took the setting, but they added like different feels, which really makes the atmosphere feel unique and different from Mob of the Dead. And I cannot give Blood of the Dead enough credit for that. Say what you want about the map, but I think the best part about Blood of the Dead really was how well it was able to distinguish itself from Mob of the Dead, and the atmosphere explains that perfectly. Even though some people feel like it's a downgrade, I think it's more of a side grade. So yeah, that's the atmosphere in a nutshell. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. So, Blood of the Dead has many different changes that distinguish itself from Mob of the Dead, arguably in good or bad ways. Let's talk about them. Well, the gameplay ones we'll talk about, like the gameplay features. So, the most notable features that Blood of the Dead added that weren't originally in Mob of the Dead were the new areas. Blood of the Dead is bigger and more expansive and has more areas to play around with, including the Warden's house, which has a nice little camping spot there as well. A nice place that also has importance and relevance during the Easter egg, which makes it an overall welcome addition to the map, as well as the entire area in between the catwalk, that basically the spawn area and all that area before you get into Alcatraz Island itself. That is all new area that has not been in Mob of the Dead before. So pretty much the spawn room, the trap room, the power room, all those areas are unique and never seen before. And there's also a really good training spot there as well, which again makes for a welcome addition on the map. There's also transportation, additional transportation that Mob of the Dead didn't previously have, which are like these little like tunnels that take you into the lava itself, which makes for some really interesting reactions by the characters. They say things like, "Oh, I'm on fire," or "Why is there lava? Am I not dead yet?" Like, pretty cool stuff like that. But in terms of gameplay, it just really helps make navigating the map easier, which is overall just a really good thing. Because Mob of the Dead originally did kind of struggle a little bit when it came to navigating the map due to how big it was, but this map, because it adds additional areas, it needs to add additional transportation, and they did exactly that. Actually, you could argue that Blood of the Dead needs even more transportation than this, but for what we have right now, it seems fine, and it's a welcome addition to the map. All of it feels in unison with the map. It feels like it makes sense and it would actually happen on Mob of the Dead, which is really nice when you can add new things into a pre-existing map and they just flow super well together. It's a really good sign that they really hit it well with this map. I really do like the fact that there's just lava like all over the outside of the map. It's a really interesting like idea, but it actually works really well, which I should have added along with the atmosphere, but it just really works. The characters actually interact with it in like the cutscenes, for example. Like in the trailer, you can see Richtofen like sticking his hand in the lava and stuff like that. Like, it's just a really nice thing overall. Generally, everything just feels unified together, which is definitely a good sign that you made a good zombies map. Blood of the Dead has tons of gameplay features, new and old, things that they took out, things that they added back in, things that made this map feel a little bit too different for a lot of people's liking, and this caused a lot of controversy and dislike/hatred for this map. Let's talk about whether these changes were good or bad for the map. One of the major changes that Blood of the Dead made in terms of its gameplay is the setup. The setup is very different from Mob of the Dead. Mob of the Dead is very complex and tedious. You have a big giant plane that you have to build, and you have to find 5 parts around the map to help assemble the plane pieces to get to the Golden Gate Bridge. Blood of the Dead doesn't have that. Not even a single speck of the plane is on Blood of the Dead. And the afterlife is also significantly changed. Not completely removed, but it's just significantly changed. In Afterlife, in Mob of the Dead, it works like just as Shadows of Evil. You click on it, and you basically turn into a ghost form, and you can press and unlock certain openings and doors and certain beams to shock that you couldn't otherwise do in your game. Blood of the Dead really changes that up. Blood completely gets rid of the afterlife system and replaces it by putting it on the portable shield. So instead of having to wait around to get another afterlife charge, you just got to kill 3 zombies with the special attack that the shield has, and then you'll have an afterlife charge. And the afterlife charge works very differently. It's just every single shock you do is 1 afterlife charge. But there's much less stuff to shock in Blood of the Dead than there is Mob of the Dead. So Afterlife doesn't play nearly as large of a role, but it still plays a role. Many people would consider this to be a cop-out because they kind of just put it onto the shield and made it feel more dumbed down, but I think that's completely fine. I think it really makes the shield extremely unique and something that we've never really seen before. Plus, I love the fact that you don't have to wait around. It makes setting up generally better. I think the setup on Blood of the Dead is definitely easier than Mob of the Dead for certain, and I generally just feel like it flows better with the gameplay. Plus, if you upgrade the shield, you can just get full charges by meleeing some of the Afterlife boxes that were originally boxes for the Afterlife charges in Mob of the Dead. So that is a really helpful one. I overall really like what they did with Afterlife in Blood of the Dead. I like that it doesn't count as quick revives, because on Mob of the Dead, that was ridiculously overpowered. You could go down 200 times and still get to round 200. That's a quote I've used so many times. But yeah, because Afterlife is basically a quick revive in Mob of the Dead. But with this, there is none of that bullshit. So yeah, I do really like the way that they did Afterlife in this. And the plane, I can kind of understand why people are also upset with that. I do really miss having the Golden Gate Bridge as an area. I kind of wish that they'd at least add it in as an area that you could go to, maybe not necessarily getting it from the plane. And I also kind of wish that the plane would at least make some kind of presence on the map. It didn't have to be just escaping on the island, but it could be kind of a transportation that goes around the entire map. Kind of like maybe a transit bus that, like, if you're lucky, it might like stop by your location and you'll be able to fly around and be able to stop at another location. I think that would potentially be really cool and a really cool way of implementing it. But whatever, it is what it is. I'm not too salty about the fact that that you don't fly off to Alcatraz or something like that, because again, Blood of the Dead is trying to do something different. They're not trying to tell the Mob of the Dead story all over again. They're using the endless cycle and the infinite loop in a very different manner than what the Mob of the Dead crew did. Than what Mob of the Dead did. The characters are more methodical, and they're using the the Chronorium to help try to get out of the situation instead of just being hopeless like the Mob of the Dead crew. So not only does it make sense storyline wise, and because it makes sense storyline wise, I don't think it really hurts the gameplay. It doesn't really hurt your feeling, or the feels of being on Alcatraz as a whole. So, yeah. That's my opinion, though. Don't lynch me, please. One of the coolest things about Blood of the Dead is the already mentioned shield. It's a spectral shield, and that means it shoots a sort of ghost blast, which allows you to go into the afterlife, which is really cool. Plus, also, you can just use it to pounce on zombies, which is really good and really fun. It's overall a really good shield, and you can upgrade it, which is really awesome. Plus, it has the Magma Gat. So in Mob of the Dead, there was only the Blunder Gat and the Acid Gat. And now we have a third version of the Blunder Gat, and that is the Magma Gat. The Magma Gat is, well, awesome. Well, the pre-patched version was awesome. Basically, shot lava, and it would spread around to other zombies. The effect was really cool, and it had that traditional signature Blundergat look to it that made it just really awesome and fun to use. Unfortunately, though, the Treyarch had to nerf it. After the nerf, it was useless on high rounds, And with the Asagat already being very disappointing and weak inside this map, believe it or not, the Blundergat is actually the best wonder weapon on Blood of the Dead for high rounds, which is very surprising. You wouldn't think that the least upgraded version would be the best and most powerful on high rounds, but here we are with Blood of the Dead in 2019. I don't know why they nerfed it. I don't know if they thought it was too overpowered on high rounds. I don't think it was. I think it was perfectly justified to stay what it was. But no, they nerfed it. And if they were to nerf it, at least buff the Asagat, because the Asagat is straight up awful. But no, they didn't do that, so I don't know, man. Sometimes I'm confused by Treyarch's actions, but still, the fact that we have 3 different Blundergats to choose from is still a really awesome thing, and you gotta give credit where credit is due. They also tinkered with the Hell's Retriever. If you guys didn't know, the Hell's Retriever was super good back in Mob of the Dead. It had an infinite amount of times, which is the same for Blood of the Dead, but the fact that equipment is significantly buffed means they should have increased the time a bit, but they did not. In fact, it actually feels just about the same, which is not good considering the fact that they increased the time to get all of the equipment for every single equipment, and for the fact that they didn't do a buff on the Hell's Retriever is weird. Plus, the Hell's Retriever is weak. Did I mention that? Or no? Hell's Retriever, insanely weak. Even when you upgrade it, it's nowhere near as good as it was on Mob of the Dead. And this might be disappointing, but the only reason why I wouldn't consider it a catastrophe is because Black Ops 4 has so many good grenades that it doesn't really harm the map too much, because there's so many other good grenades that you can use. And it brings more variety to the game, but at the same time, it kind of gets rid of some of the things that made Mob of the Dead so great in the first place. And it contributes a lot to the setup as well, because, you know, you gotta kill the zombies in the specific locations that the Hell's Redeemer asks of you, and you have to feed all the dogs, and now with less incentives to do those things, it kind of takes away some of the magic from Mob of the Dead. This is one of the few decisions that I really did not like when remaking Mob of the Dead for Blood of the Dead. I can understand Treyarch for some of the other decisions, but this one I cannot. I just do not agree with it. I think that they should have kept the Retriever to be really good. In fact, it should actually be even better, because it should recharge a lot quicker than it currently does. Let's talk about the Easter egg. So, the Easter egg for Blood of the Dead is overall pretty solid. At first, a lot of people thought that you couldn't start the Easter egg till around 17, which would have been really stupid, but once people actually figured out how to not do that, then it became pretty reasonable. Overall, I think the Blood of the Dead Easter egg is pretty good, even though Lex said it was like the worst Easter egg of all time. I really do not think so. I think it was just his overreaction to the first step of the Easter egg, which he got wrong about, saying that you could only start on around 17. I think that kind of made his anger higher for the Easter egg, but I really don't think it's that bad. The only issue I have is the fact that it has solo unfriendly Easter eggs, which is a huge problem. I've complained about so many times of why the hell do the Treyarch developers, and this goes for Sledgehammer and Infinity War as well, like, why the hell do they keep making Easter egg steps that are non-solo friendly? I don't get the point of that. It doesn't encourage people to play co-op. It makes people just not want to play, because it's not like realize that solo people, they're not gonna play co-op. They can't, because they would if they could. It's not like, oh, they can just go suddenly to play co-op. They're playing solo for a reason, and I'm one of those people, and I hate it. The Morse code step is especially victim to this. I don't know why they put Morse code into the game. Like, it's already a nightmare to solve by yourself. But then having a zombie on you that you cannot get off your back is extremely frustrating. Like, if they maybe had something like Zetsubo no Shima where you could actually hold a zombie and do whatever you want, that would actually be pretty good. But unfortunately, that feature is only on Zetsubo no Shima, so you can't do that. So yeah, how do you do the Morse code step on Solo? I don't know. Ask the people who've actually done it, because I haven't. But yeah, other than that one thing that they keep continuously fucking up on, after it seems like every single map now, Blood of the Dead's Easter egg is overall solid. And this is a perfect time to talk about, well, the cutscene. I think it's just best that you see it for yourself, instead of me analyzing it.
Listen to how the spirits sing. They are free of this realm.
Ain't that swell? Does that mean we win?
I would be greatly relieved if that were so. I am in no hurry to ensnare my mortal soul.
That will not be necessary, Nikolai. The future has changed.
The Chronorium?
Read it. Learn of your true calling. You must keep your soul. It will be needed to defeat Dr. Monty.
Who?
Hello? Hello? I am still here. Wait! My God. What have I done? I honestly thought you were going to let me bleed to death. It was so sad.
The cycle is broken, Herr Doctor. As such, insurance policies are no longer needed. I wish I could tell you I was sorry, Edward. But I'm not.
No! No, you can help me! You're a doctor! Wait! Don't you know who I am? I have been witness to miracles and calamities! Dimensions born and collapse! I walk a path no other can take! No! I want to be me. Someone who did all the hard work! I wanted to keep going. This is me. My slightest heart. You won't even remember.
So yeah, did you feel the emotion there? I certainly did. I think you can definitely see just from watching that this is one of the best, if not the best, cutscene to ever exist in Zombies history. And I am never going to deny that. So yeah. Let's move on to the conclusion.
My fear, where do we go when we let go? here. Don't let me go. He said the
So, overall, Blood of the Dead does a great job with sticking to its roots when it comes to a remake. It tells a fantastic narrative and has some excellent new gameplay features that make it worthwhile playing all the way to the end. There's a reason why they call this map the real revelations of Black Ops 3, because it perfectly ended the Black Ops 3 storyline, paves a way for an insane climatic ending that will be the end of the Aether storyline that will be coming soon, around sometime in the next 8 months or so, and I cannot wait. This map is one of the most emotional maps I think I've ever played, and that is insane. Just the atmosphere and the soundtrack and just the character quotes are absolutely incredible. That is definitely just enough of a reason for me to play this map, but there's more to this map. The map has great gameplay. It really takes what makes Mob great and puts it into this map. Some could argue that it didn't take all of what Mob made great, but even if you don't think it took all of what Mob made great, at least you can say that it is in the spirit of Mob of the Dead, but it adds so much more and so much new that makes it really unique to something that we've never seen before. I haven't even talked about the free crane that gives you a free power-up, or the golden spork and like that whole upgrade thing. Like, there's a lot more to dive with this map. There's just a lot. It has I wouldn't say it's a complete upgrade to Mob of the Dead, because clearly it's not. There's many people who prefer Mob of the Dead a lot more because they prefer some of the features. They like how the Wonder Weapon is better in Mob of the Dead. They like the Hell's Retriever more. But whichever side you're on, I think that we can all agree that Blood of the Dead did a great job at being in the spirit of Mob of the Dead, but being something completely different. But I feel, just like the original Mob of the Dead, the atmosphere, the soundtrack, and the character quotes are really what make this map stand out. Those are my favorite parts about the map. That was my favorite part about Mob of the Dead, and it's also my favorite part about Blood of the Dead. Like, that is already just makes this map good enough for me. So, what did you guys think of Blood of the Dead? Tell me in the comments below. Do you think that it lived up to the hype, or do you think it fell flat? Tell me, guys, in the comment section, and I hope you enjoyed this review. I put a lot of time into this review. It's actually been about 3 days of me editing, and I hope that it is ended up becoming something that you guys are really going to enjoy. Anyways, have a good day, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Hmm.